I'm going to give y'all a quick tutorial on how to properly set up the BiPAP for a resident that's also on oxygen continuous. When you have a resident that's on oxygen continuous, you have two options. One, you can have them with two concentrators, one for the nasal cannula and one for the BiPAP, or you can keep them on one concentrator. In this particular example, this resident is on one concentrator that we're using for both. So that means that when we go in between the BiPAP and the concentrator, we have to appropriately attach it so he can get humidified air no matter what. So with that being said, the first thing we're going to do is check out the setup that we have right now. Right now, the resident is on nasal cannula. This is his nasal cannula. It's going into a thing of sterile water that's hooked up here, and it's screwed directly in to the 10-liter concentrator. This person is on 4 liters right now. Of course, this is how you adjust it if you need to adjust it. But we'll get to that in a second. So in order for me to connect the BiPAP to this particular model, what I'm going to have to do is have an attachment. This attachment is, can you see that? I can. I call it a Christmas tree. I'm sure there's a more technical term for it, but I call it a Christmas tree. These are kept in the oxygen supply closet. Either way, we have that, and this is going to be the tube that we use to connect the machine to the tube that's going to go to the BiPAP. So all you have to do is simply briefly turn off the concentrator. You're going to have to unscrew this. It's just hand tightened on, so it doesn't take very much to unscrew. Set that to the side. And then you screw on your Christmas tree just like this. It doesn't have to be super tight, just barely hand tighten it, just like that. You should be able to turn it back real easy. Barely hand tighten it. And then, come on, a little closer over here. Then you take your tube coming from your BiPAP. I just want you to see really quickly, let me see that. Where this is coming from, it bleeds into the BiPAP right here at the base, right? So this tube that's coming out of here, sorry, kind of a mess.
No, my fault.
Is the tube that you're going to take and hook here. Just push it on there. It doesn't have to be super tight, but just push it on there. And then once that's done, you just check your BiPAP, make sure it has water. Right now this one does not have water, so I'm going to put some water in. This is how you add water to this BiPAP. You simply wiggle this little attachment loose right here, just like that, pops right off. And I'm adding some sterile water. You can use sterile or distilled water. We have a bunch of sterile in house. We're going to use the sterile that we have in house first before we go get some distilled.
So that's the Christmas tree right there. Oh. I'm sorry.
And we're going to just pour the sterile water in. Be mindful there's a fill line on the front. I'm going to zoom in on it in a second after I get through pouring. So if you see right there, you can see where there's a max and a minimum fill line. Just fill it up at least to the minimum, but I go ahead and put it to the max because this person uses their BiPAP a lot. So once you get that done, the resident is ready to go on it. Of course, you just attach the mask to the resident. Just make sure it's snug. Make sure it has a really good seal around the nose and the mouth of the resident. That way, make sure that the BiPAP is actually working and doing what it's supposed to do for the resident. Once you get this mask on the resident, all you have to do is turn it on. You push this little pink button right here, and it'll start going. A little right there, the little power button right there. Now you're not going to hear anything, especially because this model is super quiet. In fact, the concentrator is going to be louder than the actual thing. So now that it's all set up, I've put the mask on the resident. I'm sure I have a tight seal. Based on your order, depending on whatever the percent of oxygen is for your resident, you're going to adjust the oxygen level. So go ahead and turn it on. This particular person, oh sorry, hold on. This particular person is on 40% of O2. So in this case, I'm going to turn it up to 10 liters because he's getting it through the BiPAP. So I'm going to bleed in 10 liters of oxygen through the BiPAP. I've already turned it on and it's on the resident, imaginary resident, and then that's it. Once you're done, it's on 10 liters. He's getting the appropriate amount of O2. You're done. Just only thing you have to do now is just make sure the resident is compliant and keeps the BiPAP on, and that's pretty much it. Make sure you check the water level. The oxygen tubing needs to be changed weekly, just like with any other oxygen tubing. Okay, just comment below if you have questions.
So you were showing that tutorial session for me to hook it up.